Most people spend their entire lives trying not to lose money, and that is exactly why they never become wealthy. The poor man fears spending. The wealthy man fears stagnation. One protects money, the other deploys it. Only one becomes powerful, because wealth was never created by possession. Wealth is created through deployment. This is the first truth most people never learn. Money sitting still feels safe, but safety and strength are not the same thing. A sword hanging on a wall is perfectly safe, yet it wins no battles. An army that never leaves the city is perfectly safe, yet it conquers nothing. And money hidden from risk may be safe, but it produces nothing. This is why so many people spend decades working, saving, and sacrificing, only to discover they are still trapped. They have money, but they do not have freedom. They have savings, but they do not have sovereignty. They protected the ammunition. They never fought the war. A reasonable objection. Most people hear the title of this video and immediately imagine reckless consumption. Luxury cars, designer clothing, expensive watches, status displays. That is not what we are discussing. There is a difference between spending for pleasure and spending for power. One purchases appearance, the other purchases leverage. One creates dependency, the other creates autonomy. The modern world deliberately blurs these distinctions, because a population that mistakes consumption for investment becomes easy to control. They work, they earn, they spend, they repeat, and the machine continues operating. Seneca observed the same pattern nearly 2,000 years ago. The wealthy classes of Rome became obsessed with appearances. Larger villas, more extravagant banquets, more servants, more status displays. Each purchase appeared to signal success. But beneath the surface, something else was happening. The very people displaying wealth were becoming slaves to it. Their lifestyles expanded faster than their freedom. Their obligations multiplied. Their dependency increased. And eventually they discovered a painful truth. Luxury often disguises weakness, because anything you cannot walk away from owns you. The same principle exists today, only the costumes have changed. The villa became the oversized mortgage. The banquet became lifestyle inflation. The Roman social circle became social media. The disease remains identical. People spend to be admired, then spend years paying for the admiration. Marcus Aurelius would have recognized this immediately, because emperors understand something workers often forget. Resources exist to achieve objectives, not to create appearances. An emperor does not accumulate grain simply to admire the grain. He deploys it. An army does not gather weapons merely to display them. It uses them. A strategist understands that resources without movement become liabilities. Money follows the same law. And this brings us to the first principle. Spend to increase capability. Most people spend money to feel better. The wealthy spend money to become better. The distinction changes everything. A new phone may provide temporary pleasure. A valuable skill may generate income for decades. One disappears, the other compounds. One creates comfort, the other creates power. This is why intelligent people willingly pay for education. Not because information is expensive, because ignorance is expensive. The poor man sees the price of learning. The wealthy man sees the cost of remaining the same. And those are very different calculations. Excellent, because now we are asking the correct question. The Stoics never promised certainty. Marcus Aurelius never promised victory. Seneca never promised perfect outcomes. They promised something else. They promised that inaction carries risks of its own. Most people compare action against perfection. The strategist compares action against stagnation. Those are entirely different standards. A failed attempt can teach. A missed opportunity teaches nothing. A failed investment can be recovered from. Years of hesitation rarely can. This is why Epictetus repeatedly emphasized understanding the true cost of choices. Every decision purchases something, even doing nothing. Especially doing nothing. When you refuse to invest in yourself, you purchase delay. When you refuse to acquire skills, you purchase dependency. When you refuse to build assets, you purchase vulnerability. The transaction still occurs. You simply do not see it. And invisible transactions are often the most dangerous. Now we move deeper. Spend to buy position. Most people believe success is created through effort alone. This is comforting. It is also incomplete. Position matters. Environment matters. Access matters. The merchant with access to the harbor prospers faster than the merchant trapped inland. The senator with access to power sees opportunities before the crowd. The entrepreneur surrounded by ambitious people advances faster than the one surrounded by resignation. This has always been true. The wealthy understand this, which is why they spend money gaining access. Access to rooms, access to information, access to networks, access to opportunities. The average person sees the expense. The strategist sees the position, because position often determines outcome before effort even begins. Now we arrive at the principle most people resist. Spend to buy time. Seneca considered time the ultimate currency. Not gold, not land, not silver. Time, because every other asset can be recovered. Time cannot. The tragedy of modern life is that people spend years saving money while casually wasting decades. Hours disappear. Months disappear. Entire seasons of life disappear. And yet, they celebrate saving a small amount of cash. Meanwhile, someone else spends money to accelerate learning, to remove friction, to acquire help, to eliminate delays. And because of that, they move faster. The gap widens, not because they are smarter, because they understood the true value of time. Money is renewable. Time is not. Never reverse their importance. Now the final layer. Spend to create sovereignty. This is where wealth stops being financial and becomes political. Not politics in the governmental sense, politics in the ancient Roman sense. Power, influence, autonomy, freedom of action, the ability to say no, the ability to walk away, the ability to wait, the ability to choose. These are the true products of wealth. Not luxury, not status, not applause, sovereignty. A man with assets can refuse bad opportunities. A man dependent upon wages often cannot. A man with multiple sources of income can negotiate. A man with one source of income often obeys. The difference is not character. The difference is leverage, and leverage is purchased, which brings us back to the title. Why must you spend money to get rich? Because wealth is not built by preserving every dollar. Wealth is built by deploying dollars into assets, skills, systems, relationships, and opportunities that return carrying reinforcements. The goal was never money. Money is only ammunition. The goal is freedom. The goal is control over your time. The goal is control over your decisions. The goal is independence from forces that would otherwise command your life. And that is why the poor man protects money, while the wealthy man sends it into battle. One hopes it survives, the other expects it to return stronger. Remember this: money sitting still rarely changes a life. Money strategically deployed often changes generations. And that is the difference between saving wealth and creating it.